They thought it would be easy. One poor ranching family standing against the richest land baron in the territory. They stole their water, burned their fences, and took everything they owned. But they forgot one thing. Hidden beneath years of dust and heartbreak was a gun with a history powerful enough to change an entire war. What happened next turned a frightened family into a legend of the Wild West. Stay with me until the end, because the final showdown will reveal how one gun changed the fate of an entire valley forever. The year was 1883, and the dry winds of Arizona Territory carried more than dust. They carried fear. At the edge of Red Valley stood a small ranch owned by Samuel Carter, a hardworking widower who had spent 20 years turning empty desert into fertile land. Every fence post, every field, and every stone in the modest house had been built by his own hands. Samuel lived there with his daughter Emma and his 16-year-old son Jacob. Life was never easy, but they had enough. They had food on the table, horses in the stable, and dreams for the future. Then greed arrived. Victor Kane was the wealthiest cattle baron in the territory. His empire stretched across miles of land. Ranchers feared him, sheriffs obeyed him, and judges accepted his money. But Victor wanted more. The valley contained a natural spring that supplied water to the entire region. Most of it flowed through Carter land. Whoever controlled that water controlled the future. One afternoon, Kane rode onto the ranch with 6 armed men behind him. Samuel stepped onto the porch. "I hear you want my land." Kane smiled. "No, Samuel. I need your land. And if I refuse?" The smile disappeared. "Then you'll lose it anyway." Samuel stood firm. "My answer is no." Kane turned his horse around. "Then you're making a very expensive mistake." The threat hung in the air long after they left. Weeks passed. First, cattle began disappearing. Then fences were mysteriously cut during the night. Soon neighboring ranchers stopped speaking to the Carters. Fear of Kane's influence kept everyone silent. The pressure grew worse every day. One morning Jacob discovered the family well poisoned with dead animals. Another night their barn was set on fire. The flames lit the sky while the family desperately fought to save their horses. Emma cried as years of hard work burned to ashes. Samuel stared at the fire with clenched fists. He knew exactly who was responsible. But proving it was impossible. The sheriff refused to investigate. The town looked away. Kane's money controlled everything. Winter approached, bringing even greater hardship. Without the barn and much of their livestock, the Carter family struggled to survive. One evening Emma found her father sitting alone on the porch. The tired rancher looked older than ever. "They're breaking us," she whispered. Samuel stared into the darkness. "Maybe that's what they're counting on." "Then what do we do?" For the first time, Samuel had no answer. Days later, tragedy struck. While riding home from town, Samuel was ambushed. 3 masked riders attacked him near the canyon road. His horse returned home alone. Jacob and Emma found their father hours later. Broken, beaten, and barely alive. The attack changed everything. The doctor said Samuel would never fully recover. His injuries were too severe. The ranch now depended on 16-year-old Jacob. The young boy suddenly carried responsibilities meant for a grown man. Fear entered his heart. How could he fight powerful men like Victor Kane? How could he save the ranch? Then fate revealed the secret. One rainy evening Jacob entered an old storage shed that had belonged to his grandfather. While searching through dusty boxes, he discovered a wooden chest hidden beneath loose floorboards. Inside rested a beautiful revolver unlike anything he had ever seen. Its handle was engraved with intricate silver designs. Alongside it lay an old journal. Jacob opened the first page. The journal belonged to his grandfather, Thomas Carter. As he read through the worn pages, he uncovered an incredible story. Years earlier, Thomas had served as a lawman. The revolver had become famous throughout the territory. Outlaws feared it. Citizens respected it. The weapon had earned a legendary nickname, the Peacemaker. According to the journal, the gun represented more than violence. It symbolized courage, justice, standing firm when everyone else surrendered. Jacob spent the entire night reading. With each page, something changed inside him. The fear that had controlled him began to disappear. For the first time, he realized the battle wasn't just about land. It was about refusing to bow before evil. The next morning he strapped the revolver to his side. Emma noticed immediately. "You planning to start a war?" Jacob shook his head. "No." His eyes hardened. "I'm planning to end one." But neither of them knew that Victor Kane was preparing his final move. Within days, armed riders surrounded the Carter Ranch. The real fight was about to begin. And Red Valley would never be the same again. News spread quickly across the valley. Victor Kane had made his decision. The Carter family would either leave or be destroyed. One cold morning, 20 armed riders appeared near the ranch. Dust clouds rose behind them. Their message was simple. Leave before sunset, or suffer the consequences. Inside the house, Samuel struggled to stand. His injuries still caused terrible pain. Emma loaded supplies onto a wagon. She believed they should leave. They could start over somewhere else. Anywhere but here. Jacob disagreed. "This land belongs to us." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "It won't belong to us if we're dead." Jacob looked toward the hills. "Sometimes people keep taking because nobody ever stands up." Samuel slowly approached his son. For several moments neither spoke. Then the older man placed a hand on Jacob's shoulder. "Your grandfather once told me something." Jacob listened carefully. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing what's right despite it." Samuel looked at the old revolver. "Maybe it's your turn now." Those words changed everything. Instead of running, Jacob rode into town. Alone. The citizens watched him arrive. Most believed he was heading toward his own funeral. He stopped in front of the sheriff's office. The sheriff stepped outside. "What are you doing here?" Jacob's voice echoed across the street. "I'm asking for help." The sheriff looked away. "You know I can't." Jacob turned toward the crowd gathering nearby. "Then maybe the people can." Nobody spoke. Fear controlled them. Just as Cain expected. Jacob slowly removed the old revolver. Not threateningly. Simply holding it where everyone could see. An elderly man gasped. "I know that gun." Others recognized it too. Stories about Thomas Carter's legendary revolver had survived for years. The Peacemaker. The weapon represented a time when justice mattered. A time before Cain's corruption poisoned the valley. Jacob raised his voice. "My family isn't the first victim." Heads began nodding. "My family isn't the only one threatened." More agreement followed. "He takes what he wants because everyone believes nobody can stop him." Silence filled the street. Then something remarkable happened. An old rancher stepped forward. "Cain stole my grazing land 10 years ago." Another joined him. "He burned my barn." A third spoke. "He ruined my family." One by one, people found their voices. Years of fear transformed into anger. And anger transformed into courage. By sunset, dozens of ranchers stood beside Jacob. For the first time in years, Victor Kane faced opposition. The next morning Kane arrived with his riders expecting another easy victory. Instead, he found something unexpected. The entire valley waiting for him. Farmers. Ranchers. Merchants. Families. Men and women united together. Kane's confidence vanished. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted. Jacob stepped forward. The peacemaker rested at his side. "No." Kane smiled. Then Jacob finished. "It changes everything." The confrontation lasted hours. Nobody fired a shot. Nobody needed to. For the first time, Kane realized he could no longer intimidate an entire community. His power depended on fear. And fear was gone. Witnesses came forward. Evidence emerged. Even the sheriff finally found enough courage to act. Within weeks, investigations exposed years of crimes. Land theft. Arson. Bribery. Assault. Victor Kane's empire collapsed. The man who believed money could buy everything lost it all. The Carter family kept their ranch. The spring remained free for everyone. And Red Valley slowly healed. Years later, people still spoke about the day everything changed. Many claimed it happened because of an old revolver. But Jacob always disagreed. The gun didn't save the valley. The people did. The revolver simply reminded them who they were. As Samuel grew older, he often sat on the porch watching grandchildren play in the fields. One evening Emma asked her brother what happened to the peacemaker. Jacob smiled. It belongs in the family. Why? Because someday another generation might need the same lesson. What lesson? Jacob looked across the land their family nearly lost. The strongest weapon isn't a gun. He paused. It's courage. And that lesson became the true legacy of Red Valley. Not the battles. Not the victories. Not even the famous revolver. But the understanding that greed can steal many things: land, money, comfort, even hope. Yet it can never defeat people who stand together. And that is why, long after the gun was forgotten, the story survived. Because one brave choice can inspire an entire community. One voice can break years of silence. And sometimes, one gun doesn't change the fight. It changes the people fighting it. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.